What's going on? Welcome to Riot Gaming. Today we're going to talk about the possible projectL roster leak, whether or not this is a legitimate leak or not, and the characters that were on it. And if you could do me a favor, like, subscribe, comment down below, help this channel grow. Now let's get after it. Initial source for this leak originally came from Riot Gaming, in which he received a survey that had a set of characters on it and how you felt about these characters, and I think he received it from the League of Legends client. Now, I personally did not get this survey, and I've been playing League of Legends pretty consistently for the past couple of weeks, but other people did get it. It is a legitimate survey in which it had 23 characters on it. But before we talk about the characters on the list, I feel like we should kind of break down exactly what a leak is. In order to do that, I went to a former dev who had worked at Activision and Harmonix and worked on such games as Call of Duty and Rock Band, and asked him, what is a leak? How can you tell if a leak is legitimate or not? Do leaks come from disgruntled employees who don't like their job and just want to get clout? And do you think this is a legitimate leak? And the answers would actually surprise you. And of course, a leak is any information that the general public has received that the development team did not want you to get. And the way to tell if a leak is legitimate is if it came from a historically accurate source. In fact, what I found out was most leaks actually come from data mining and achievement hunting, and a lot of times leaks can come from betas as well, where a full game will be released but only part of it will be turned on, and so you can go back and look at the source code and see what is actually there beyond what's available in the beta. And that's pretty much it. I mean, anyone can go on Reddit and say, oh, here's the confirmed characters, or here's the first DLC, and without having an actual source of which there's not really much to go off of, and that has happened in the past. And about the disgruntled employees, that actually really surprised me, and the answer was no. Actually, every employee on a development team has to sign a non-disclosure agreement, in which usually these NDAs are so tight that if you even leak anything at all, they will find out and fire that person within the hour. And on top of that, their reputation is going to be ruined and they're not going to be able to find a job. Most of these employees are so scared to lose their jobs, there's no way they're going to tell anybody anything. He actually told me a story one time, is that when he was working on Rock Band Beatles, there was another development team that was working in the same building that were working on a different game. And if you so much as hummed or whistled a Beatles song in the elevator, you would be fired like instantly. So yeah, it makes sense actually that employees would never give off information. Yes, it has happened and those employees have been fired. And last was this a legitimate leak? And believe it or not, yes and no. It could or could not, just like any leak. But what I did find out was that during a time when development teams don't have any information to give or can't give any information out, what they will do is they will do surveys and questionnaires and sometimes focus group tests in order to keep the audience or potential customers engaged and motivated and have people talking. So this seems like a time when they would be doing that, and obviously people are talking about it. I mean, both the FGC and the League of Legends community are talking about this leak, so this actually sounds like something they possibly would be doing. But then again, any information, any leak needs to be taken with a hefty grain of salt, and a lot of the information shouldn't really be taken seriously. I'm personally not taking it very seriously, because unless it comes directly from the projectL dev team or the Cannon brothers say, yes, this is a confirmed character, this is the confirmed roster, then no, I'm probably not going to take it seriously. But here's the thing about this leak, is that the roster list is 23 characters long, which is a pretty good roster, especially with a character pool of 162 characters, 6 of which are confirmed characters in the game. And the last part is, I'm not gonna lie, this roster list is actually pretty good. I would totally be okay with this roster list. Some of them were a little weird, like Karma, and I'm not gonna lie, Alawi I thought was not a very good choice, but she could play amazing in this game. But the roster itself is actually really good. So let's take a look at this roster. So of course we got your 6 confirmed characters that we know are going to be in the game, and then we got, of course, Akali, which inevitably is going to be in this game. She is too iconic, she is too popular, everybody knows who this character is, and she could very well transfer straight into a fighting game. Blitzcrank I thought was actually pretty interesting. He would do really well in a fighting game. A lot of Blitzcrank skills are actually very similar to Scorpion's from Mortal Kombat. You know, he has his spear, he has his energy sphere, which is similar to Scorpion's flame aura, but I think a lot of his combos would be a lot like Potemkin's from Guilty Gear. And it's not just because Potemkin looks like a robot, but it's because I think Blitzcrank would play similar to that, and I think his normals and neutral would be a lot like Potemkin. Karma I thought was interesting because Karma's a support mage, and this is where I think this would be a unique part about projectL, in that since it's a tag team fighter, I think Karma would possibly play as that support character, in that you would have your point character who would be your main, you know, fighter, who would actually, it'd be kind of like a 1v2, and Karma would be using her abilities as assists that would be able to help out. I mean, I'm just kind of theory crafting here, but that's how I'd imagine Karma would be. But Karma could also be an offensive champion where she would use her stuns and her offensive attacks. So if that's the case, then she would definitely play like Doctor Strange in the Marvel vs. Capcom 3, or possibly like Dr. Fate from Injustice 2. Kindred I thought would actually be really cool. Not really the most popular champion in League of Legends. Kindred is a bow character who is a literal lamb with a wolf spirit. I see how that's like kind of flip-flopped, you know? And she's a high mobile champion that uses the wolf as additional damage. So I can see her playing like Batera from Grand Blue Fantasy Versus, in that she uses her butterfly to, you know, send off to, you know, do extra damage along with her mobility and her bow attacks to where she can hit from all different angles. That would be actually like pretty cool, right? And then there's characters like Vi and Riven who you'd expect to be in the roster, so that was actually, you know, pretty neat. And then Rengar is actually like one of the coolest champions in the game. He's a hunter, and it's not just because he's a hunter. He would play just like Predator from Mortal Kombat X. He would just be an in-your-face bully with a lot of mix-ups, high damage combos, and setting up a lot of offensive traps in his combos. Rengar would be super cool. And then there's of course Thresh and Yasuo, which are super popular champions that are inevitably going to be in this game as well. And then there's Teemo. I thought was interesting because we're just going to talk about him in the next video along with the other Yordles, so stay tuned for that one. And the two most interesting characters that I also thought would be really great additions, I didn't know if these two would be popular enough to be put in the game, but Set and Samira. Set is definitely going to be your grappler character, who's that kind of MMA fighter style, and I would imagine him playing exactly like Grappler from DNF Duel, which is his combos are just setups for command grabs, and then Set does have a shield and a pull. He would be your ultimate grappler champion. And then there's Samira, who is a lot like Dante from Devil May Cry. She has her pistol for medium range, and then she has her giant sword for when she's close up. And I know I'm not listing like every character that's going to be on the list, but I just want to point out that even though it's not a confirmed list and it possibly might not even be a leak, I do want to say that the only reason we are talking about this list is because it's very close to the end of the year, and the Cannon brothers did say in the development update videos is that they will be giving us some more information before the end of the year is out. So the timing is right. It's a 23 character roster, which is a pretty solid roster, and 6 of those 23 characters are confirmed champions in the game. And that's literally the only reason we are talking about this, or that this even got brought up. So personally, do I think this is legit? I'm gonna say I don't know, because it's solid. I would like for this roster to happen, but I take this kind of information very lightly, because more than likely it's probably not a leak. And I hate to say that, but in the survey there was literally nothing that said projectL, and this list could very well may be for projectL, but it could be for the new Riot MMO. It could be just because they want to rework some of these champions, they want to redo the art for some of these champions. Who knows? This could be for anything, to be honest. But we like to have fun, we like to talk about this, but the roster is yet to be confirmed. Unless the developer says anything, I'm not really going to trust it, but it is pretty fun to talk about. So I'd love to hear what you guys have to think. Please subscribe, like, and please comment down below. I want to know what you guys think. You think this is real? Is it not real? If it is real, what's your favorite champion in the game, and what is your team going to be? I'd love to hear what your tag team is going to be. So until next time, Shred out.
Thank you.